Hi everyone, this is Abid from Marky Books. Today we have a very special guest with us whose name is Melissa Storm. She is not only a New York Times bestseller, she's also USA Today's Times bestseller. She's also a founder of multiple publishing businesses and one of the smartest Facebook ad strategists all around. Today, she's here to walk us through what's changed in the Facebook ad landscape in 2025, how authors can benefit from it instead of drowning in the sea of changes. And Melissa, the floor is yours. You can start.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Storm. It's good to be here. I am here today. I'm really excited to give this presentation. I talk on Facebook ads all the time, virtually and conferences, but this is my first time talking specifically about what is different for 2025. I prepared this presentation yesterday, so it's extremely current and to the moment. So these are the new best practices for Facebook ads in 2025. And it's not the catchiest title for a presentation, but it is what it is. And Avi's already given me such a nice intro. It's one of the nicest ones I've had. I didn't even write it myself, so it was extra encouraging to hear those kind words. Thank you. I am CEO of Novel Publicity. We are the team behind multiple 150 plus currently 6, 7, and 8-figure authors. We do work with newer authors as well, but my particular strengths and specialties lie with working with larger names to do really cool and cutting edge stuff. Lately, I've been very focused on Kickstarter, ads for Kickstarter, and talking about that a lot. But today's presentation, we are going to be talking about traffic ads, which is the kind that most authors will be running. I should also mention I write as Melissa Storm, which is women's fiction, and that's my hybrid trad pub name. I've got Molly Fitz, which is my cozy mystery talking cats name. Right now, I'm very invested in Luna Rider, which is a humorous fantasy and RPG name. And I have some secret pen names where I do experiments. So I won't tell you what they are unless I accidentally do so. So feel free to try to mix me up and get me to confess my secrets. I like it all because no question is unwelcome or a bad question, because either I will know the answer and then I get to look really smart answering it, or I will not know the answer and I get to learn something new. So in both cases, I consider myself a winner. So again, highly emphasize questions welcome and encouraged. Okay, so first off, lately on Facebook, when I can cut through the noise of non-author stuff and non-fighting over AI stuff, and where are the authors who like each other talking and what are they talking about? Right now, the sky is falling, not just from one place, from all directions. The sky is falling vertically, horizontally. Everything's destroyed. The industry as we know it is ruined. We'll never get the good days back. It's all horrible. But the thing is this is a constant state of the author industry. I'm 40 years old and I've been full-time in the author industry since I was 26 years old. So I've been around pretty much my whole adult life, evolving with the industry. And I remember the days when Kindle and self-publishing ruined publishing. Currently, AI is ruining publishing per the voices out there, but these are all changes that are navigable and we can flourish together. It's just important to stay informed and I wish I had a great boat metaphor right now, but I do not. But imagine that I just inserted the most lovely, breathtaking metaphor about ships sailing on a sea. It was really good. Insert that in post. But the sky is actually not falling. Things are very different. And a lot of authors, when they see these big changes, the most recent being a lot of author targets were removed on Facebook ads. So authors are like, well, ads don't work anymore. We have Amazon's algorithm shifting, Facebook's algorithm shifting, TikTok with an uncertain future. Everything at once is creating all these changes. The A10 algorithm with Amazon that now has ranks updating more slowly and less frequently. Best practices with keywords have changed. So many things are changing at once. And then when you layer on contentious current events and big feelings about AI, it can be tricky to know who to trust, where to look, what to do. I am but one voice, but hopefully you'll see I'm a calm voice and I'm still happy and joking. Um, and it's very, very navigable, as I said. So do not panic, but also don't try to turn back the clock. A lot of people in groups are like, here's how you get rid of Advantage Plus, and here's how to do this so that ads work the way they're supposed to, the way they always have. But Facebook and their parent company, Meta, they've changed the software, the framework. It's not the same. So if you have the same approach, you're not going to get the results you once enjoyed because you're doing it wrong. If you're trying to turn back the clock, we really need to lean into the future here. And that's a very layered statement. I'm not saying uniformly that all best practices from before are gone. And I'm not saying uniformly you have to use AI or accept AI in ways and areas you're not comfortable. That is not what I'm saying, but there is some evolution here that we have to be prepared for. So the future is in the future, not in the past. Okay, so here's the bad news, maybe for some people. Maybe it's exciting for others, but you can't escape AI. I'm not saying you have to use AI for copy, art, audio. I'm not saying any of that, but AI is baked in it's baked into Facebook, it's baked into Amazon. Any tech giant is using it heavily. A lot of them are just calling it something else. So the only way to truly and totally opt out of AI with Facebook ads is to not run Facebook ads. Like otherwise there is AI involved, whether or not you are making a choice or setting it, Facebook is doing so on your behalf. So I'm going to talk about certain areas and where you have choices and where you can escape some of the features that I don't believe are ready yet for mainstream. But I just really want everybody to keep that in mind. Again, I'm not saying you have to use AI for copy images. I don't use it for images. I do use it for copy. I'll talk about that a little more. But the important thing is that you make choices aligned with your business and goals and ethics, since that gets thrown around a lot with AI too. So you can make some of those decisions, not all of them. Facebook and indeed all of the tech giants are really rushing to innovate. And a lot of times that means they release features before they're ready, before they're truly tested, because they want to stay ahead. They want to be cutting edge and they want to be the top dog. So they release things that are kind of wonky or sometimes really wonky, and then they fix it or remove it after the fact. And because they're rushing and they're aware they're doing this, they're not always transparent with users about what they're changing. Things are also not always uniform. I personally run about 30 different ad accounts for clients and myself. And sometimes there'll be a feature only in one of those accounts. Sometimes it'll be in half. Like it's totally different what they're changing and testing. So sometimes I'll see something pop up in one account and get ready and brace myself for it to come around everywhere. But Facebook will decide it's not worth it and they'll just quietly put it to bed. So there's so many factors. I do have the benefit of overseeing so many accounts personally, and then also having my team overseeing another 100 plus accounts that I'm regularly in touch with my team. So I'm seeing to scale what's going on, which gives me a really big benefit because it can be hard to know how your ad account reflects the general experience. So I have the law of large numbers on my side, although it's relatively small statistically, but still much bigger than most people have access to. The good news, the thing everybody who uses AI says about AI is, and again, if you're running Facebook ads, you're using AI, even if you're not using AI, is that it's the worst it's ever going to be today. So it will keep getting better. Yes, Facebook, Amazon, insert tech giant, they will release more features that are not ready. They will change things up and break things that were working before. These will keep happening, but overall, we're going to be improving. So it's going to be a bumpy ride, but we're going to get to our destination.
Yeah, so I do have a question regarding this, right?
Sure.
So looks like to me you're saying that things are going to keep changing in the landscape of Facebook and Amazon. So how much worth is it as an author who's working as for themselves to keep learning these new things? And I guess you will answer this in the future slides, but my question is just that is it really worth it for me to learn these new things when I know that after a while it's just going to be obsolete and just going to be replaced soon, you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. It's really tough to say. It's going to depend on your personality and your comfort level and where your skills lie. I think right now it's a really good time to specialize. This from the person who has 6+ pen names. I think it might be too much to really dig into Facebook ads and Amazon ads and TikTok. But if you pick a platform where you are the most comfortable and where you have seen results and you work on staying up to date, testing new things, really digging in, watching webinars like this one, talking in groups, studying for yourself, I would pick one thing and keep up with it. And the great news about Facebook ads is if you've been scared of them in the past because they seem hard, right now I think you have an advantage if this is all newer to you, because so many authors are really, bullishly trying to make it work the way it used to. And I think it's much better of an approach to start over. So if you're starting for the first time, you don't have bad habits to unlearn. And I think that's where the challenge really lies. So that's what I'm trying to kind of lean into as we continue this presentation is where do you really need to consider relearning what you know rather than trying to patch or plaster over a broken technique. So hopefully that answered the question. I think it's if Facebook ads are comfortable for you or you're excited about the prospect of learning, if you have a slightly higher risk tolerance, I think it's a great time to learn or relearn Facebook ads. People who are more risk averse and maybe have smaller cash reserves, they might find more comfort in Amazon ads. I know that for me and for most authors I know, again, I work mostly with 6, 7, 8-figure authors. Facebook ads are exponentially more profitable. And that's not true for everyone, but authors with smaller catalogs and who have less money to potentially set on fire, Amazon ads might be a more comfortable fit. And then TikTok and Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, you can do well on those platforms for free if you have patience and the ability. For me, I don't have the patience. And every time I log into short form video platforms, I feel very old. And then I have to go hide in the dark and cry. So those are not platforms for me. But Facebook ads, I always think of it, it's kind of like a video game. I'm a huge gamer. PlayStation 5, love it, everyday gaming. And Facebook ads to me is another game, but I win money in the real world if I do well in the game. Like, that's the best game ever. I'm so glad it's my job. Pro gamer here. Did that answer your question, Abhi?
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yes. And please ask more questions because, again, I think you get the most honest and helpful content from questions, not from my boring slides. So here's how you pivot in 2025. There's lots of little changes. As Abhi and I discussed, it's going to keep changing a lot frequently. But right now there's 2 very big changes that I believe ignore at your peril. The rest you can figure out in post the way Facebook does. But the 2 big things we're going to talk about, and I'm going to specifically point them out. I'm going to share a lot of the little things, but when we get to the big things, I'm going to make sure that it is emphasized and you know that those are the most important parts. So diving in, and this is a little bit awkward to do without just doing a recorded screen flow of watching me click around Facebook ads. But again, I wanted to make sure that you had everything nicely laid out in the slides with text as reminders. And then I would love to do live workflows. I have my Facebook ads dash waiting and open to show you where these things are. So if you have questions, please ask. And if it requires going into my account, Abhi can hopefully track those for me. And at the end of the presentation, I will show you the answer, not just tell you. So the Facebook ads dashboard, for those who are unfamiliar, it's set up like Russian nesting dolls, where you have the biggest matryoshka, and then inside is the medium, and then you have the baby inside, and they're all nested inside each other. Facebook ads is also nested. You have 3 tabs or dolls. The big one is campaign. So everything lives inside of campaign. The middle doll is ad set. So ad set sits inside campaign, and then everything smaller than ad set sits inside ad set. And the smallest doll is the ad level. So just remember that those nest and stack. So one campaign can have many ad sets, which can have many ads. But you have only one campaign on the campaign level when we're talking about a specific Facebook ad. So I'm going to walk you through these. I've said all this. Good job, me, saying the presentation without having to read it directly off the slide. So there you go. I said all that. Good, go me. The campaign level, that's the big doll. That's the first tab. So it's going to be the leftmost tab when you're in the Facebook dashboard. Here's where you're going to choose your ad type and a couple other small things that affect everything else you do. Because remember, it is the biggest doll. So the 3 types of ads as an author you're going to want to be running or will consider running regularly are sales ads. This is the type of ad if you can install your pixel on a page and your conversion API. You'll definitely know if you have done it because it takes work to do it and it usually frustrates people. So it won't be, have I done it or not? Like you will know if you have installed a pixel. So sales ads, a lot of times with Shopify, WooCommerce, direct sales, and my current area of specialty, Kickstarter, is also a sales or purchase conversion ad. Related, you have lead ads. So again, you need the pixel, but this time we're not optimizing for somebody making a purchase. We're optimizing for them signing up for a newsletter or clicking a specific button, such as notify me when this Kickstarter launches. That is a lead ad. Both of those are unique and what Facebook is optimizing for. The third type of ad is traffic ads. This is the main one authors run, and sometimes authors even default to traffic ads when a sales or lead ad would be a better choice because they're easier to understand at a glance. Traffic ads are optimizing for clicking on a link. So clicking on a link to Amazon, you can't put your pixel on Amazon because we don't own Amazon. It would be awesome if we could, on the off chance somebody who works at Amazon watches this webinar, please, dear God, give us the option to put pixels on our book pages. You will make so much more money if you let us do that, guys. But for now, they do not, and likely they will not watch this webinar or care about what I think. But with traffic ads, you're optimizing for clicks. So once somebody clicks the link in your ad, Facebook says, I've done my job, success. But with sales and leads ads, you have to get the person to click and then sign up for a leads ad or to click and then make a purchase and give you money for a sales ad. And Facebook doesn't consider it a success until that happens. So all of their Advantage Plus, all of their optimizations are for these types of ads because those are the advertisers with the most money. These are the big e-com stores and businesses like Amazon. They have a pixel. Home Depot, huge brands, course creators, mega personalities like Mel Robbins. They all do sales and leads ads. So since they give Facebook the most money, Facebook cares the most about what they want. So usually they don't consider it a huge problem if traffic ads aren't working perfectly because as a group, even authors who spend a lot of money, it does not compare to the major brands. So keep that in mind that in some ways they are optimizing against us. If you are comfortable with direct sales and Shopify and Kickstarter, there's a lot of money to be made because those ads are like chef's kiss right now, but there's a very high bar to entry on them. There's a lot of skills needed, a lot of cash needed, but that is out there and that is possible. And I'm done talking about that for the most part because we're going to focus on traffic ads, which is how you advertise your books on Amazon and other retailers.
Another question I have.
Yes.
So I'm interrupting a lot, but yeah. So the first question is, I don't know anything about Facebook ads. So the first question from me is, what is Advantage Plus placement, right?
Oh, we are going to get very deep into that.
Yeah. I hope we do. And the second thing is, obviously there's like 3 types of ads that you talked about, sales, leads, and traffic. So the question for me is, traffic is the easiest one to start, but how does Facebook get paid in the other 2 methods? So in sales and leads, do they get paid when someone buys the book? Let's say the end goal for me is to get them to buy the book with the sales ad. And with the leads ad, the end goal for me is to get them to sign up for a newsletter. So do Facebook get paid per signups or per sale in this category?
Generally, in almost all circumstances, they get paid per impression. With a sales or lead ad, a single click costs a lot more money. So if you look at the CPC or cost per click, it's going to look like those ads are terrible. But they're optimizing for something different. So what Facebook gets when they give you a sale or a lead is they get you to spend more money advertising on Facebook, but also you're paying per impression, which is also how link click traffic ads work. And there are other types. I highlighted sales lead and traffic because I really think those are the only types authors should be running. But some people do like engagement ads where you just want somebody to comment or hit a heart emoji. And the problem with engagement ads is Facebook, unlike TikTok, who's very good at this, Facebook isn't great at differentiating between positive engagement and negative engagement. So you can get a lot of hate stack up. They will optimize for whoever's most vocal. So usually that's whoever's offended. So it's not my favorite type. I mean, if you're working on a thick skin, it can be great. I love being called the devil sometimes because I have a tarot book. But anyway, I don't actually like it, so I don't run engagement ads. But we're going to go very deep into Advantage Plus. That's going to be on the ad set level and the ad level. And we're going to spend the most time on the ad level in this presentation. So the campaign's pretty quick and dirty. It's those 3 ad types. And I also recommend budgeting at the campaign level rather than the ad set level because you have a choice and you set it here at the campaign. It's easier to pivot, and generally it's better to have fewer audiences going at a time anyways. In 2024 best practices, I used to have 20 to 50 audiences inside a single campaign. But in 2025 land, I have a maximum of 5 and usually just 1. I'd rather have a unique campaign, which I'll talk about as we go forward. So that was the biggest shift for me is I now have far fewer ads and audiences set up. But if you budget at the campaign level, if you do have multiple audiences, it will split it up based on where it's getting results. So if you have 3 audiences and a budget of 30, if you set it at the ad set level, each one will spend $10. Even if one is amazing and one sucks, they're each going to get $10. Setting it at the campaign level lets Facebook serve less to the bad audience and more to the good audience. Another reason I like it is simply it's easier to see how much you're spending at a quick glance, because if it's reported at the campaign level, right as you log in to your Facebook Dash, you'll see $25 a day, $50 a day. If it's set at the ad set level, it will say budget set at the ad set level. And then you have to go in and then you have to do math. And I just like seeing it at a glance. I recommend for starting out that you budget $10 to $25 a day on a new campaign. And I have tried to put gems like that in orange so they stand out as important. If you can obviously go as low as $1 a day per audience. So if you have only a single ad set inside your campaign, you can do $1 USD. So if you're in Canada or in Australia, you have to set at least a $2 campaign if you want to have anything in it. But I think like if you have it much lower than $10, it can take such a long time for the ad to learn that you might never get results. Facebook might flag it as learning limited. We don't have enough information. We can't serve this ad. So that's why I think 10 is a good bottom. And I try not to start higher than 25 until I have a few days of data. I have scaled as high as 10,000 a day, some campaigns for some clients, never me personally. But I don't start at $10,000 a day because that's a great way. Like if you hate money, you can do that. But if you like money, 10 to 25 is a nice little cozy spot. If you run a lot of ads and you're really comfortable, you could start higher at $50 or $100 if you're already really dialed in and know this is the audience that works for me. This is the type of thing they like. Then you can start higher. But if even if it's a known author with a newer book, I would still start lower. Any more questions, Abby, on this slide? Somebody else.
This is Justin. Yeah. I have a quick question.
Yes.
So the starting budget, once you're dialed in, you can drop it lower, right? You would say? I have an ad I've been running on Facebook for my first series for the last 2 years that has usually a pretty good cost per click. And I drop that down when nothing else is going on and I'm not wanting to spend a lot of money on it, but I've made sure to keep that ad going for 2 years. I switch out the text and I switch out the pictures sometimes, but it seems like it maintains the audience if I just keep it running and running, and then I can play with the amounts.
Yeah, as long as you're dialed in and paying attention, because the danger with a smaller budget is that it will go into learning limited. So it will stop being useful. And the danger with too high of budgets is that you'll go into creative fatigue, same problem on the other end. So if you're giving it new stuff and you're making sure the ad is not flagged, Facebook helpfully flags everything lately, and some of their flags are not helpful and some are helpful. So if it's telling you that your creative will soon be fatigued or there's not enough information and you're in learning limited, those are flags to pay attention to. So as long as it doesn't say that on your ad, you're good. I do a lot of $5 ads for lead ads. I feel comfortable having those really low and just constantly working in the background, especially for my Kickstarters. But I would never have like a shop campaign lower than $20.
Okay. Yeah, I've never gotten the learning limited message. I have gotten the creative fatigue and updated stuff occasionally. I always make sure to check them all really regularly.
Yeah, and thank you for that question because I didn't even address those in this presentation, but those are definitely like Facebook throws so many like optimize this, you have a low score, your ads are horrible unless you turn on Advantage Plus placements, like, but really creative fatigue and learning limited are the two that you do need to pay attention to.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. That's really good to know.
Yep. Okay. Ad set level. This is where Abby wants to live. So this is the Medium doll. It's inside the campaign and ads are inside it. So anything you do at the ad set level is going to affect all your ads, but it doesn't change the things at the campaign level. This is where things have changed the most obviously lately, and where authors are panicking. But the thing is they've been changing it for a long time. It was just specifically authors losing some of their favorite targets that made everybody say the sky is falling. But we are not Chicken Little here. So we know we're good. But the ad set level, it's where you're going to set your audience targets and placements. And I believe, I put this in blue because it's not an orange level item, but I've believed for a while now that this tab will go away. I think that Facebook is angling to eliminate this tab. A lot of their actions tell me that they do not want creators and advertisers to have the powers in this tab. So they want people doing things at the campaign level or expressly the ad level is where Facebook really wants you to spend your time. I do believe eventually we will not have targeting options. We will not have placement options. We will have to use everything because more and more it's been a false choice that we have control there because they will override any setting you place here. So hopefully that's not too scary. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think Facebook's been making these changes for a long time and authors have been like, okay, we'll just ignore them or turn them off. But you actually can't. It's a false choice. Facebook lets you think you have a power that they're still going to do what they want to do based on the data. So eventually, I think custom audiences, like if you're retargeting your newsletter or engagement audience or excluding those people who have purchased a specific product, I think that will be on the campaign level so that you can maintain that. I think setting end dates for campaigns, they'll move to the campaign level. Right now it's an ad set, but I think eventually we will not have targeting options or placement options. So maybe I'm wrong, but we'll see. So yeah, buy me a drink if I've been correct. We'll see in the future. So let's talk targeting. This is the first really big thing. So hello, this is one of the two really big things you can't ignore in Facebook ads right now. I've already mentioned that we have a false choice where you can click, I don't want Advantage Plus targeting, I want the original options. I think they did that so they would have fewer support chats of people freaked out because even the things that you set in the main settings where you set your location, your minimum age of anywhere from 13 to 25, your language, and custom exclusions, can still override those things, which are supposed to be set in stone. And one of the things you can't put in the set in stone place is gender. Which is a big problem for a lot of romance authors in particular. They're like, men are commenting on my ads. Because again, when Facebook is optimizing for engagement, they tend to find the people most offended and serve the ad to them. A newer problem that some authors have come across is Facebook will override the country. So if you have German translations and you say, I want Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, I want them to see my ads, they're like, okay, cool. Also France. And it's like, well, no, I want them to see my French ads. No, they will see the German ads. So that's just an example of, I'm going to use my one. I'm going to use my one and then I'm going to be done. That's an example of the fuckery happening behind the scenes right now. It's one of my favorite words to describe Facebook. Even though I like them, it's my career, but they do a lot of things that are like, what are you doing, guys? Like, at least be transparent in what's allowed and not allowed. So after you set those core things that are supposed to be non-negotiable but aren't, I feel like I'm being so cynical right now. Audience suggestions. This is where you can set age. So anywhere from 18 to 65 plus. You can set your gender here. So if you're writing romance, it's a good thing for female only. Other genres, a mix. Some genres will be male only. I don't advertise those genres, but certain thrillers and sci-fi. You can set your custom audiences and your lookalike audiences. And then you can add interests and behavior. So people who own an e-reader, or people who like crime fiction, this is where you put that in. So this is what authors are upset about because they want this level of control, and Facebook keeps making it more and more difficult to have that. Even when I set these things, I don't do it under original audience options. I do it as Advantage Plus and then suggested audiences. So Facebook will consider my case and then it will decide what it thinks is best. So I recommend a Goldilocks approach. Some people say don't put anything in. Just let Facebook, don't target it at all. Broad targeting, no targeting, zero targeting. Facebook will decide everything. Go nuts. Some authors like it to be extremely granular. Back in the day, they might choose one single author like Janet Ivanovich for cozy mystery sometimes, because not a great cozy mystery comp, but the best we have other than Agatha Christie. But we don't have either of those anymore. But some authors will choose somebody who's 100,000 or smaller, very tiny audience, because they're like, this is the best audience. They'll convert the best. It's the best. I think both sides are too extreme. So that's why Goldilocks, just right. Usually I aim for 5 to 10 million in the audience I'm targeting. So for example, I do a lot of Kickstarter ads, and I will target Kickstarter, the website, and then narrow, and then fiction books. And that's the perfect size. If you do Kickstarter and then fantasy books, it gets smaller and the audience won't last as long. So usually I'll test it both ways in the case of a limited run Kickstarter, but for dark romance, a lot of times I'll do romance novels, narrow, horror fiction, or horror movies. And I'm looking for that sweet spot in size, which Facebook will calculate on the side for you. You'll see the audience range. So there is a better place to target than this place. And that's our second major pivot, but we have to sequentially get there in the order of this presentation. So that's just a little teaser for the exciting things to come. Okay, we're still in the ad set level. And we're going to talk about placements. This is what Abby wanted to know about. So Advantage Plus placements, everybody hates them. They say only use the Facebook newsfeed. Everything else sucks, except for this is awesome if you're using a pixel. So if you're doing sale ads or lead ads, let Facebook put the ad wherever they want because they're optimizing for the action. So it doesn't, like, if people aren't converting from Instagram feed, they'll stop serving it. So let them have all the placements. If you're just doing static image ads like your book cover, then you do want to limit to Facebook newsfeed and profile feed only. If you're doing video ads, you're going to want to limit it to Instagram stories and reels. If you choose to run Facebook video feed ads, I would actually do that in a separate campaign from Instagram because the audiences are so different. Facebook does penalize you if you turn off Advantage Plus features. They will throttle your ad a little bit. So when you're making these decisions, just think about, do I get more by adjusting this, even if they're going to throttle me somewhat, then I lose. So when it comes to traffic ads, it's definitely worth taking their penalty and restricting the settings, because all the other placements, they look great from the outside because the cost per click goes way down if you have all the placements, but they don't convert. So Facebook doesn't have that information. They think the cheap click from the partner sites is great and they're doing a good job and people will spend more money because it looks like the ads are working. But you really have to see what your income is, because sometimes, this is a bonus tip. Sometimes I'll be running ads for a client and suddenly a campaign will just stop making money that's been doing really well. And we'll look at the ads and we'll say, well, that's weird. The cost per click is so good. It's only 3 cents. It dropped from 12 cents to 3 cents. What that means in that case is that Facebook has optimized for the wrong audience and the ad is broken. So when you see an income dip and the cost per click goes down, which is a desired action, you actually need to stop that campaign and start over, because it's easier than trying to retrain it because you can't control who Facebook's decided to optimize for. So right now, that's the secret killer of campaigns that I keep seeing. So be on the lookout for that one if you're actively advertising. I also want to mention in the ad set tab, this is where you set dynamic creative. A lot of people have taught in the past best practices to use dynamic creative. It's actually never been my favorite thing, but it's even worse now because Facebook has confirmed close to a year ago now that this will be going away. They are not going to allow it anymore, but they haven't given us an exact date for when it's going to go away. But eventually it's leaving. They're not investing in keeping it up to date because they want you to do a similar type of thing on the ad level with Advantage Plus. But eventually, if you are running dynamic creative ads, when Facebook finally sunsets this, all the ads will stop working. So don't start new ones in dynamic creative. Questions at this point before I go to the next slide?
Yeah, so to summarize this from my perspective, it looks like if we're running traffic ads, we should not be using Advantage Plus placement because it's just going to get the ad to a very cold audience who are not making money for us.
Yes, they're going to optimize for the cheapest possible clicks, but the most conversion is queen. You want to make money on your ad, not just get vanity metrics. So it's real important to watch your income. Sometimes to use attribution links, some people like to do that. But at the very least, look at how much you're spending per day and how much you're earning in your KDP dashboard per day, and make sure you like the comparison of those two numbers.
Makes sense, yeah, okay.
All right. Here's the ad level. This is half the presentation. So I'm excited here, so I'll stop being cynical, hopefully. But this is where you need to make the most changes to your approach. So everybody's really focused on the ad set level because the most visible changes have happened. The changes you need to make on the ad level, they aren't visible. They're kind of intuitive, and you get there from testing. You get there from having a lot of information. And a lot of people don't have information to scale to see what's changed here. So this is going to be a lot of really specific stuff. This is why I put it on the slides, because this is going to be too much to hold in your brain, even if you run ads all the time, because it's a lot of very specific tips. So I'm going to kind of go through it quickly. And then in the end, in the questions part, I can show you these things. I didn't want to muddy up the presentation with screenshots because your dashboard might look different. Things change so fast. I just wanted to keep a really quick reference guide. So there's several parts to the ad creative. That's what lives inside the ad set. It's how your actual literal ad looks. So you've got your image. You want a 4x4 or a 4x5. So Facebook says it wants a square. A million years ago in Facebook ads land, they used to want like this shape of ad. And some people still think that's the shape they want. It was so long ago, I don't even remember the aspect ratio. It was maybe 5:8 or something. But for a long time, Facebook has preferred square ads. And if you upload an image that doesn't fit, they'll want to crop it to a square. But they're actually starting to favor 4:5. So that's a slightly taller ad. And they don't give you the option to crop to that size, but if they will auto crop to that size. And part of that is because of one of their creative Advantage Plus creative features, which I'll get to in a second. You want your cover to be on the ad image. Sometimes I just crop the cover quick and dirty into a 4:5. Sometimes I'll put the whole cover on like a simple, pretty background. That's what trad publishers are doing. They have the cover with a glow or a 3D, and then their Pub House logo tiny in the corner, and they might have a review or a call to action in text on that ad. I've been doing ads like that as well, and they work for some genres and not others, but it is what trad, including Amazon Publishing, is doing. Sometimes you have a really pretty graphic, or you might have the cover art with no text on it that you've cropped. But you want somewhere your book to be on the ad, because that way when readers click and they see the same thing again on the product page, say on Amazon, they don't feel misled. They know that they're clicking over to this type of book. They get the vibes. It's really important that you get good clicks, not just that you get a lot of clicks. My primary ad strategy for my pen name Luna Ryder, which has been a very difficult pen name to grow, because I'm like, I'm going to invent my own genre. So that was great, but it's taken a lot of work to be able to sell my weird thing. And I do a lot of retargeting. So I'll get people's attention by sharing like one of my Patreon posts that's helpful or something nice. And then I will retarget anybody who's interacted with my ads and say, hey, now you can sign up for my newsletter. And they do. And then I'll retarget them and say, hey, now you can buy my book. And I build it up like that. But if I have an audience of cheap clicks, let's say I have a romance and I have a couple kissing, and I have like just one quick line of text, which I see a lot of authors do. They could think they're going to a dating site. They could think any number of things, a porn site, I don't know. But they might not know they're clicking on a book. So then my whole system falls apart where I retarget them and keep getting them to invest more and more in my brand. If they weren't interested in the first place, I'm going to waste money, not just then, but in all ripples going out for my strategy. So it's really important that I get good clicks. I will pay a much higher amount for good clicks. So I judge it based on how much money I'm making, not on what's the cheapest click. That's why I said don't be cheap. And I put it in quotes so you know that. I'm like, yeah. But Facebook is always watching. They're always learning. They're optimizing for everything. They're redoing their whole system. They want to do a good job for us because then we'll spend more money. So Facebook isn't trying to hurt us. They're not trying to be complicated. They're trying to do really big things really fast so they can stay competitive. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is they want us to spend more money on ads, which we will do if the ads are working. So yeah, covered that. Ad level copy. So here's a bunch more quick, dirty best practices. I've done a lot of testing. I've had as many as 5 whole chapters or 10,000 words in the body of an ad. So I've gone crazy. I've had no copy in the ad. I've tested like all iterations, and usually 75 to 250 words is the sweet spot for a good length of text in your ad. This is not on the image. This is the text attached to the image. Again, Goldilocks. You're going to want a strong 12 to 18 word above the fold. That is the text that shows above the image before they have to click to read more. So a lot of authors, they'll use their book blurb or description for the ad copy, which is good because readers see exactly what they're clicking on. They're more likely to convert, but a lot of times book descriptions start off kind of boring. So when I'm working with clients, I will usually edit out the first 1 or 2 sentences to start at the meat of the blurb. So it's really important that that above the fold is good. You're going to want a closing call to action in the text with an emoji bullet point. And I put the books there. That's a good standard emoji bullet point. You want them to know what they should do. So they just read, oh, the story sounds nice. But you got to remind them, like, you want to buy this story. You want to borrow it in Kindle Unlimited. Here's how. Give them the information. Put the book title down there. Let them know the genre. Like, just really drive home that sale. And I put the bullet emoji to visually break things up and make it clear it's important. Great copy could be your book blurb, a list of tropes in your story, a raving reader review. So if you search your Amazon page, I usually search for multiple exclamation points or superlatives in the reviews. And I want one that's kind of borderline illiterate, because if it reads like a professional review, it's not as compelling, it's not as convincing. But if the reader is so enthusiastic that every sentence ends with 3 exclamation points, that is advertising gold. Also,
Quick
yep.
question there. This is Justin again.
Hi.
I've read different stuff about if we're allowed to use reviews off of Amazon in our ads. Like that technically Amazon owns those. So I've always been hesitant to do that.
I always attribute them. So 5-star Amazon review, and
Okay.
that does the trick. So if you're not sure, like if you have a reader on your ARC team, you can ask their permission. But if you attribute Amazon, you should be okay.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. Thanks.
Yep. Another thing that can work really well in ads, sometimes, depending on your genre, is excerpts that end with an enticing hook. So you don't, kind of like the mini cliffhangers that you put at the end of each chapter so readers keep turning the pages, that style of excerpt. But excerpts don't work for all genres. They specifically work very well for steamy romance. So knowing how to edit steamy romance blurbs is a skill that I'm very proud of. I'm not going to say the things I edit out because I already got my one naughty word in for the presentation. But for sweet romance, I've tried for cozy mystery, for fantasy, for historical. I've tried for all these genres, and the excerpt doesn't compare to having the blurb, the trope list, or the reader review. But for steamy romance, it's a great choice. You want to be emotion forward in whatever advertising copy you share. And this is something, again, being a fantasy author myself, fantasy authors and sci-fi authors have to be real careful about, because it's easy to get really lost in the world building and needing them to understand the planet's name and what race of, elven whatever we're dealing with. But none of that is important in getting the reader to buy. You really want to focus on how they're going to feel. Exciting adventure, heart-stopping, kind of cliche buzzwords. That is much better than naming the twin suns that orbit your planet. And proper nouns in general, I say. Be careful with proper nouns in ad copy and in blurbs. Like, yes, you probably want your main character's name to be in the blurb, but we don't need to know every side character's name. That's where descriptions get really bogged down, and a thing to be careful about, because you have to be even quicker and snappier in ad copy to stop that scroll and get them to take the desired action. So AI can be really good at writing ad copy if you know how to write ad copy. If you do not know how to write ad copy, AI will give you bad ad copy. So it's kind of a catch-22. My approach with AI has been, a lot of authors and people in general say, hey, I'm going to use AI to make up for my weak spots. I'm not good at this thing, so AI is going to do it. But the problem is, if you're not good at the thing, you don't know if AI did a good job. You can't teach it how to do a good job. So where I use AI are the things I'm already the best at. So I'm very good at using AI to write ad copy because I have 15 years of experience writing ad copy, and I've trained the AI, and I know when it's bad and how to reprompt it. So I just say use caution there. If you're even if you want to use AI to write ad copy, it's still a skill I would learn for yourself, so that at very least you can validate what the AI gives you. There's so much. So 2 headlines for Square Images, then ad overlays. We're going to get to the Advantage Plus creative enhancements. I use quotes very facetiously there. And I'm going to tell you which ones I like and which ones I don't like, with varying degrees of passion. But ad overlays is the first creative enhancement that I fell in love with it. So this is the reason why Facebook is starting to prefer the 4x5, the slightly tall rectangle ads, because if you have a square and you select ad overlays, it will put the headline of your ad onto the image. Maybe Justin, your advertising, have you seen this happen with your ads where they will take your headline like read free and Kindle Unlimited and they'll put it on a solid color background that goes well with your ad and then they'll put it in so it kind of continues the image.
I've seen them doing that on some of the stuff.
Yeah, it works really well. It is a feature I like a lot. So more and more, I'm designing the square ads because if I use the 4x5 creative, then I can't add an overlay because Facebook won't let it get taller. And I love the add overlays feature. It's a good one. You also want 30 to 45 characters per headline. The headline is what's showing up below the image in bold next to your call to action button. You can make it really short, you can make it really long. If it's long, it gets cut off. So I like to optimize for the number of characters I said so that you can read the whole thing without it getting cut off and without wasting any space. And I like to mention the platform. So Kickstarter, Kindle Unlimited, all retailers, wherever books are sold, Audible, whatever retailer you're advertising to, make it an easier decision for the reader to understand what's going on. So usually I'll have genre plus platform for one of them. And since I use ad overlays and have two headlines, the other one will be a short reader quote or a hook for the story that fits in that very small spot. The Learn More button, which is next to the headline. Learn More, when I briefly worked in marketing, corporate marketing, there was a rule we could never put Learn More on our creative briefs because it's the worst call to action. It's not creative. It requires no thought. Facebook will let you choose from a whole list: shop now, download, sign up, book a call. There's all kinds of things. And a lot of authors are tempted to use download or shop now or some of the others, but Learn More is always best in my tests, even for direct sales ads where they will default to shop now. I change it back to Learn More. For whatever reason, that converts the best. Sometimes Facebook will give you the option to remove the button. And this is another thing where they will penalize you if you do that, and you have to decide if it's worth the penalty. When I'm running ads to books that are not in English, it is worth the penalty because Facebook won't translate the button. So if I have my beautiful German ad, which I worked very hard to make the headline fit because each word in German is 30 to 45 characters long, and then you have Learn More, oh, this book's not for me. And another silent killer of translations ads is if your author page name is like, one of mine is Melissa Storm, New York Times bestselling author, which is great for selling English language books. But if I'm serving it to a reader in Germany or Brazil or wherever, they see all this English at the top of the ad, and then I try to speak to them in their native language. No, I've kind of just said, this is not for you. I don't care. So for my translations, I have language specific pages I serve ads from. You're going to want to add a link directly into your copy as well. So where you have buy When Life Gives You Legends free and Kindle Unlimited, you can download it here. And then I provide a link because if you've run ads for any length of time, readers will ask what to do and how to get the book. So I like to make it as easy as humanly possible. And I say varied link because if the link you put in your ad copy is an exact match for the link for the main part of the ad, Facebook will remove and not show the link in the copy. So the easy way around this is to do the very short, clean link in the body of the copy. So Amazon.com/DP/your ASIN number, or you might have a pretty link. Pretty link is when you can use your website URL and redirect. So lunarauthor.com/legends I could put there. And then I put the dirty link in the main box, which is whatever long chain of like ref, search, blah, blah, blah. It's just I call it the junky dirty link. And even though they're both going to the same place, both links will appear as needed. For attribution links, if you're using Amazon attribution links to track conversion, you don't want to put a second link in the body of the ad because then if people click on that, it's not attributed correctly. So you could use a pretty link there, or you can simply instruct the reader to click the image to head to Amazon where they can read this free in Kindle Unlimited. Consider adding multiple versions of what? This is where you can do the replacement for dynamic creative. Facebook will let you add multiple of anything, multiple images, multiple main copy, multiple headlines. You can test multiple buttons. So if you do that, just be really careful. I still like to have them separate so that I have clearer information on what's working. And if you're using attribution links, you don't know which of the 5 copies is converting. And also when you add at that level, you can't break down and see. Like with dynamic creative, you could break down in ad settings and see specifically what's the cost per click and click-through rate of each different form of copy. You cannot do that at the ad level. So I don't like it. Some people do. Okay, Advantage Plus creatives. Pay close attention and check often, even on 2-year-old ads, Justin. You still got to look and make sure that things that you did not ask for are not turned on. Because Facebook is adding and testing new ones all the time, and they're rolled out in different ways. So the ones that I like, I've talked about, I really like ad overlays. I like flex format, relevant comments, visual touch-ups, and enhanced CTA or call to action. These won't be available for every campaign and every account, but when they are available, I like them and I turn them on. The ones I loathe, add site links. That is the worst one. It's terrible. It should not exist. I hope it goes away because they will send your traffic to another site that has nothing to do with your product. It sucks. Ad products I don't like because if I'm trying to advertise a specific book, I don't want them to pull in other books from my Shopify. I don't want the readers to be distracted. I want one clear action that they can take. Text improvements I do not like because they will rewrite your ad copy with their AI. And so most authors either don't like AI, don't want to use it, or they do like AI and they're really good at it. But either way, you don't want Facebook's Llama, which is one of the inferior AIs, overriding your copy. Translate text, also not good because I don't want them to translate my English language book pointed at the Amazon US store into German randomly. And ad music. Ad music is one of Facebook's favorites to keep trying to put on existing ads, but it can ruin the vibe. One creator had happy birthday attached to hers and she was really embarrassed and it didn't make sense. And I'm assuming that there's not going to be copyright issues for music Facebook is adding, but if I want music in the ad, I want to control the music rather than having it do whatever. Any that I haven't mentioned in the like or loathe, I'm ambivalent or neutral or haven't seen yet. New enhancements, they're being added in other places. So they're not like when you're setting up the ad creative, you'll see like there's 12 recommended enhancements and you can go through and turn them on and off. But Facebook is rolling them into other spots, so they're harder to find. When yesterday or the day before, I found a new one called Format Display Options. And it stole my money. And I was really mad about it because it's like add site links and it just decided to add a bunch of other sites to my ad. So I was paying for clicks that were going to someone else's product. I was not happy about it. I turned it off. So just keep an eye on the ad creative level is where they're going to add new things. You can opt out of experimental features if you go to advertising account settings in the hamburger menu to the side where there's like a million trillion options of places to go. Under advertising account settings, if you go in there, you can opt out of experimental features. But again, Facebook knows best and will override what you want because I am definitely opted out and I definitely lost money to this new format display options thing that occurred on one of my ads. Questions at this point, because I'm ending with my top tip, and this is my second of the 2 big takeaways.
So I do have a question.
Yep.
So the first question for you is, for the translated ads, how does it convert compared to the original ads that you have for the English audience? So what's the cost look like?
Yeah, so it's going to depend on the market. I was one of the early adopters of translations as early as 2016. So I have a lot of experience. That's my other main topic I get invited to talk about. And it's going to depend on the country of origin and the quality of the translation. So Germany, that's where people start because there's a lot of money to be made in Germany. It's the second largest book market. The cost per click is usually higher, which freaks some authors out. I pay more for a click in Germany, but it converts at a higher rate too. Other markets like Spain and the Netherlands and Italy, they have a really low cost per click, but they don't convert as well. So it's just something you have to keep an eye on and know the market. Also, with translations, you have to be really careful about scale. With the US, you can, in theory, scale forever. But I usually don't go over $20 a day for UK, Germany, or France. And I don't go over $10 a day for any of the other markets. And for me personally, Spain and Portugal have been a waste of money to me. Some authors get them to work, but those are harder.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
So my top tip for 2025 is to stop fretting about the targeting on the ad set level. Remember, I believe it's going to be going away eventually. You want to target in the description box. So this is on the ad level, and the description box is usually ignored. Most authors and advertisers either don't touch it or they put something really short and generic. If you don't do anything, it will pull in the description from the page. So if you're linking to Amazon, it will pull in your product description. If you're linking to your website, it will pull in the SEO preview. But the thing is if you have your headline optimized, readers aren't even going to see what's in the description box, which means it's free ad space to talk to Facebook's algorithm. So Facebook is deciding who likes your ad based on what's in the creative and then who's engaging. So I use the description box to tell it exactly who I want to reach. I put in comp authors. I put in my tropes and themes. I do a lot of neurodivergent and LGBT representation, so I make sure that I put that in the box. I do comp TV shows, movies, games, pop culture, celebrities, anyone that I believe is a good match for my book. These are things that you couldn't even target before because Facebook had even though they used to have author targets, there weren't a lot of choices. Now I can target anyone in the SEO box. It's called the description box, but I call it the SEO box. And I love it because readers do not see it. So the sole purpose for me is to tell Facebook's AI who to target, since I can't do that on the ad set level. And here's another plug, like if you are comfortable or curious about AI on any level, you know who's great at talking to an AI algorithm? Another AI. So even if I do my best work and spend a long time making this 500-word thing, it's still going to be better coming from ChatGPT because ChatGPT talks like an AI. So the Facebook's AI is going to understand it better than if I wrote it myself. You can create your own. It just takes a while because you have to research. And again, you need to understand your product because you need to know if what the AI gives you is wrong. You have to be able to validate it. But yeah, who are my comp authors? Who is going to love my book? And you put it all in that box. So here's my plug for me. I have a Facebook group where I post weekly industry updates. I posted my behind the scenes notes for this talk. I share really openly and freely, and I will never sell you anything in that group. Also, I have a Kickstarter coming up. It's very meta. I have a Kickstarter about running Meta ads to Kickstarter that I will be advertising via Meta. And if you're interested in that, that will be kind of a class book hybrid where I go very deep specifically into Kickstarter ads and every component of how to get them to work. It's where I'm seeing the most gains in money right now for myself and clients. That's coming up. It'll be exactly $50 to pledge. I've made up my mind. There will be no extras or options. It will be exactly $50 and everybody gets everything. Also, my company, Novel Publicity, does done-for-you ads, and you can book calls to train one-on-one. But that is my plug for me. And I would love questions. I talked for a long time. That was supposed to be a 30-minute presentation. But still, hopefully there's time for questions. And since we did cover so much, I created this slide to let you know some of what we covered that you might want to know more about. And you guys haven't been shy about asking questions, but just in case your brain is kind of buzzing and you're not sure what to ask, I also have example questions. So that's it.
Yeah, this is Justin again. I seem to be asking you lots of questions, but
I love it.
the biggest issue I have with all the ads really is how to tell that they're actually working, particularly when you're doing a traffic ad, because you can track your sales day to day. But I've released 6 books over the last 2 years, and then you have audiobooks come out in a staggered way, so it's hard to know for sure. Like, hey, I increased my spending and my sales went up, but is that because 3 weeks ago I released the audio of the final book in the series and now I have the complete series boost because it's done? It's just really hard for me to know for sure that my money's doing anything.
Yeah, and there's a certain degree of you'll never know exactly for sure, so you have to decide what's enough proof. So you mentioned you have 3 books with a smaller catalog. Amazon attribution links might be the way to go.
No,
If you're doing,
that was a mistake. I have a completed 5 book lit RPG series, and then I just
oh, cool.
released one set here in Ketchikan, Alaska for a new series I just started in July.
We should talk because my next book is Lit RPG, and my fantasy world is also based on Alaska.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll follow up after the call. Hopefully, you'll find me. But okay, I got distracted by Alaska vibes, so let me remember your. Okay, Amazon attribution links. They're not perfect, but they are the best you can do unless you're running sales ads where the pixel is saying who bought. The pixel is where you can be the most sure, but even the pixel breaks frequently and is not perfect. So I have backup plans to validate that. But with traffic ads, if you have the patience for attribution, which a lot of times I do not, I have a catalog of over 100. But for books that are hard to sell, I mentioned my fantasy. I just got this in. It's my trilogy book that I just got in for my Kickstarter. That one's hard to sell because it's weird. It's anti-fantasy fantasy. And I have to use attribution links to figure out. And like, I finally gotten it profitable. But for mine that are like, I know the brands, like my Melissa Storm, Sweet Romance, or my Molly Fitz Cozy Mysteries, I know it's selling. Like, so I don't take the extra time to do attribution links, but I do once a week, not daily. I once a week have a spreadsheet and I have, here is what I spent. Here is what the series made. Here is the simple ROI, just a straight divisor. And I watch what it does week to week. The big thing I look at, other than like the simple ROI, and I usually aim for a 3 times return. The other thing I look at is the shape of the data. So are we really stable or are we doing this? Because if we're doing this, it's less likely the ads are working. But if you have a stable day to day, even if it's slightly going down or slightly going up, that's usually a good sign that you have good ads. So there's just a lot of factors to take in, but I think checking every day is too much. Amazon is behind constantly, and it can be maddening if you're looking at your numbers. Like, general mental health tip, don't look at your Amazon dashboard on Fridays. It's almost always wrong on Friday.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Or
once
right
a
at the
week.
end of the month, that seems to mess up too. Like right around the 30th, 31st. Yeah, I know not to look too closely.
Man, it's broken all the time, and it's hard for launches because you don't know what's going on because it's behind. It takes up to 2 days for the rank to even show. But Friday, I can almost guarantee every Friday it's broken. It's why I check numbers on Mondays for myself and my clients, because usually what breaks on Friday is caught up on Sunday, and then we'll have the best look. So it's the best window into sales. So I choose Mondays.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm new to advertising, and I did a $50 ad over a weekend and did see a spike in sales. And this was on Goodreads. So I was just wondering if you knew anything about like Goodreads and advertising on them.
I have not advertised on Goodreads since 2012. So I did
Yeah, I understand.
back in the day.
I did see a spike, so I was surprised. And it
Yeah,
was-
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the current Goodreads picture looks like for ads. I know Alessandra Torre talks a lot about Goodreads. She runs InkersCon. She does a lot of webinars about Goodreads and the features there. So I would look her up. I will say for Facebook ads, a weekend is not enough. Because Facebook has to learn, it has to like which setting is good. And if you feed it all this text, who wants this ad? And it needs impressions, it needs reactions, and it kind of, like me, it kind of needs questions to do its best possible job. And it
Right.
takes time to warm up. So it can take up to 2 weeks for an ad to settle. And every time you change an ad, like you change the budget or you add something new, it starts over. So 2 days is not enough for Facebook.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Thank you.
Justin, I saw you on mute. Oh, he changed his mind.
Oh, I have a mute on my headset too, and I just turned that one on, and then I was like, oh, I left the mute off on the screen as well.
Well, now you need to ask a question.
Another question.
I know. I'm so greedy.
No, I mean, this has all been really useful. There's a lot of going through the ads I think I need to do and double check everything you've put on here. And you're one of many people who tells me I need to spend more on my ads to make them work well. I'm pretty much at like $5 a series per day is what I top out on Facebook. I keep being pushed to try a little more.
You don't need to spend more, like, because it's different for everybody and it's different for every series. So if 5 a day is working for you and you're happy with your return, you do not need to scale. You can. Lit RPG is a little bit harder to advertise, or at least it was last year. Now that we have the description box, just put Dungeon Crawler Carl in the box.
You can do that to a point, but mine is not super close to Dungeon Crawler Carl. So there's a bit of you don't want to drive people to your stuff and then get bad ratings because it's not what you promised.
When you're considering your comps too, like you want them to be visually similar, not just similar inside the book, so it's not jarring.
Yeah. Part of this that I wanted to do it is I am redoing all the covers for my first series. So I'm going to do a full relaunch and a new series of ads probably in a month once that's all done.
Cool. Yeah, I test everything. So for my new series that's coming out, the Cozy Lit RPG, because I can't not be weird. I just have to do things weird. I have a Kickstarter pre-launch up for it, and I've tested tons of iterations of the blurb and tagline, seeing what converts leads best, and that will be my final blurb. So I test everything ahead of time. Obviously, I'm not going to pay to have 5 different covers to test, but people who use AI art do that. And some authors will pay for multiple designs on book 1 and then see which one bears out. And then the others might be special editions for their store or Kickstarter.
Yeah, my first series was just, you write your first book, don't know if anyone's going to read it. I didn't spend enough on that cover, and then it doesn't really fit the genre overall. So I'm redoing them all.
Yeah, that's my perennial problem is I'll buy a cover, I'll write the book to the cover because the cover is my muse, and then I need to change the cover because it got weird. I don't know why I expect it not to be weird. I guess I just don't know what kind of weird we're going to have today.
And then generally for like my older series, I finished it 6 months ago, all 5 books. What is a good ad to money off Amazon ratio? Is there a general rule of thumb for that?
It's going to depend on so many factors. So if you see where you are now and then you have roughly that be the goal, see if you can scale up and keep the same ratio. So in the past, I would say 3 to 5x ratio, but it's been really hard this year. Some authors are really happy just to be above break even.
Because I'm doing like 5 on my first series, I'm doing 5 a day on Facebook, and my average daily sales on Amazon are about 50.
Yeah, you could scale
like
up
a 10
comfortably.
to 1.
So you have to just in that circumstance. So ROI is not the be all end all metric, the return on investment, or ROAS, return on ad spend. So when I start working with authors, I say, what's most important, ROI or pure profit? Because for some authors, they want pure profit. So they are willing to spend 50 to make 70, even though that looks like not great ROI. But if they get $20 that way versus if they spent $5 and made $20, they get $15. So you have to decide which metric is going to drive you.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, remember, you're your own baseline and you're your own competition. So can I do better than I did last week? Can I do better than I did last month? With the numbers you're reporting, yes. Because my authors who get 10x, they're usually making 1,000 plus a day. So I would say like if you like, I would scale until you get comfortable at 5x because your pure profit will probably go up a lot.
Okay.
But within your
Yeah.
comfort.
Like I said, this is all since I'm planning on doing the full relaunch with new covers. I'm probably not going to adjust anything until I do that because there's no point in doing it now when I'm going to change everything in a month.
Yeah, and every time you change anything, it re-enters learning. Doesn't matter how established the ad is. So I have a rule, never change a live ad, but even if you add a new creative, a new ad into the ad set, everything's going to be learning again. If you add $1 to the budget, everything's going to be learning again. So you just have to be really careful.
And with that ratio, like I'm paying about 19 cents a click on Facebook. Is that a reasonable?
I haven't done Lit RPG for a while.
Oh, okay.
So that's about like I usually aim for CPCs in the teens, but most of my clients are romance and most of them have higher budgets. So as you spend more, your cost per click will probably raise. But I think like at a glance, that seems pretty good for Lit RPG, which is generally more challenging to advertise than romance.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry if there's anyone else who wants to ask questions. I feel like I'm taking up all the time, so I'll be quiet if someone else has questions.
I'm happy to not be alone. Alaska power. And I can also show things in my dashboard. Like I'm ready and prepared for this. I just haven't been asked a question that warrants leaving the screen and going to my ads dashboard, but I am fully transparent and can show things if people need more.
No, I'm waiting to see it.
So, okay, Glennis, what would you like to see in my dashboard?
Basically, maybe a sample of one of your ads.
Okay. Everybody can see my desktop?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that we've broken the ice, if you do have a question, chime in at any time. So this is my Luna Rider. This is my difficult to sell pen names dashboard that's required a lot of patience and unique strategies. So this is a good comp for you, Justin, because all of it is either Lit RPG or Lit RPG adjacent, but again, weird. So it's just the way it is. I can't emphasize enough that it's weird.
I feel though a lot of Lit RPG is weird. Like it's still kind of creating the genre.
True, but mine's weird in a different weird. First of all, I'm a female author. Second of all of my characters are either have ADHD or autism, and it's queer. So I have layers upon layers. But it's good, and I've done very well on Kickstarter with this brand. So I was first able to sell on Kickstarter, and then I've been able to use that to start being able to sell on Patreon and Amazon. But that took a lot more work. So you can see here, like my CPC is higher than yours for my adjacent genre, and I have multiple things happening. So this is a snapshot of my Luna Rider dashboard. I keep each of my pen names siloed differently, partially for my bookkeeper and partially because I don't want Facebook to learn on Melissa Storm for Luna Rider because my sweet romance is quite different than my divine Lit RPG with a talking cheese. So I keep it separate. And what I do is I launch with, something just occurred. A miracle has happened. Okay. So this is my next project, the Cheese Kickstarter. And that's what is on my desktop right now. I have a single audience. So this is, I'll show you the campaign level. Okay, great, thanks. I always put the date I start it and what it is so I can find it at a glance. This is $5 a day. I love to do lead ads at $5 a day, sometimes 10, and I usually don't go above that. If I have a client launching a Kickstarter soon, I'll keep scaling up as long as the cost per lead is below a certain threshold we set because I know how profitable it is. But for these that have no official launch date, I just let it tick away in the background. But this is the campaign tab. It's simple. Here's where you set your objective for the different ad types I discussed. Here's where you set your budget strategy as discussed. That's it, unless you're running special ad categories, and I can almost guarantee you're not. Most authors who get into trouble and lose their account, it's because Facebook thinks you're running special ad categories, but you're not allowed. So ones I see a lot are if we have a sheriff or mayor in the story, that's a political ad. Even if it's not a political ad. I've seen housing discrimination. I've seen cryptocurrency. If you have a sheriff or mayor in your book, edit that out of your ad copy or your ad account will be restricted. Top tip there. But that is the campaign level. Inside we have the ad sets. You can see it's nested. I've got more than one apparently. Okay. What do I have in there? Oh, I was just messing around. I was testing a broader versus a narrower audience. I'm going to put the filter back on and show you what's inside the ad set. So here, since this is a lead ad, even though we mostly talked about traffic ad, you can see I have my pixel selected. I have lots of different pixels for different projects when the audiences don't overlap. So when I'm doing my fantasy books on Kickstarter, that's one pixel. When I'm doing my Kickstarter about Kickstarter ads, that's a different pixel because that is a totally different audience. And you can see I've optimized for lead. I have not given it my desired cost because I used the data to define the data. I didn't know ahead what it should be. I don't have dynamic creative on. Okay. I think it still has the second one selected. Blah, blah, blah. So this is in advertising settings. I excluded some countries because, as I mentioned, Facebook will sometimes broaden country. Everything under audience controls is supposed to be untouchable, but they are, you can see our AI finds a more specific audience within these controls, but they're still going outside of the controls. So on the advertising level, which is a separate screen entirely, I said, I do not want it serving to Africa and emerging markets because, not because I'm racist, but because that's where you might get bots and cheap clicks that have nothing to do with your ads. And then I have my age set and my language. This is different. Okay. Sometimes I'll put this up to 25. Usually I will have 25 as a basement because I know when I was a teen and in my early 20s, I didn't have disposable income. So it's kind of anecdotal, but hey. And then I do narrow by English. Here's where you have Advantage Plus audience and the false choice to use original audience options. They're still going to override you. So I decide to not take the penalty and work within their framework. Since this is for Kickstarter, I have Kickstarter and must also match. So when you click define further, it has to meet both criteria to qualify. And again, Facebook can override that. But if I had fantasy books and then Kickstarter in the same box, right here, it would be either or. So if I want both, I need to put them under define further. And here are the placements. Because this is a lead ad, I use all the placements because Facebook doesn't consider its job done until I get a lead. So I don't care about the janky placements. Otherwise, you click edit like I just did and manual. And it's like, no, don't do this. It's a horrible idea. But here are all the various placements and you can check them on or off. Sometimes Facebook will auto add new placements. A lot of authors don't realize they're spending all their ads budget on Threads right now because that's the newest placement and it's not a great one. But that is the ad set level. And then on the ad itself, what am I doing? This is the current one. I'll show all of them. Boom. I'm just going to discard drafts because I don't want any changes I made as an example to reset all the learning. And I'm going to get back into cheese. There we go. So you can see I've been testing a bunch of different copy and I have a couple different images in there as well. I'll show you maximum. But I'm using, like, this one was $7 a lead, which was scary and very high, but still, like, I had a client with $8 plus per lead, and she still made 4 times return once that Kickstarter went live. So ideally, I like them to be under $1, but this book is weird. So I'm okay with it being up to $2 a lead, but I have been systematically testing all these different elements, and whatever I have running right now is my winner for the book description. So I have that. Yeah, let's go into the ad itself. This is the new thing I mentioned that popped up and stole my money. You can see it's in its own little place. Okay, so this is a blurb. Step 1, make a wish to a goddess you're not sure is listening. Step 2, get saddled with the telepathic 1,000-year-old wheel of cheddar who appoints himself your divine mentor. So when I was talking about the above the fold, you can see that here where my mouse is, get saddled with a Seymour. So I just want to make sure there's something compelling enough up here that they will click to see more. And this one is working. Got the full book description, and then this is my call to action with an emoji. I've chosen a cheese. It probably doesn't make sense for most books, but it makes sense for this one. Ready to read it? The Wheel Deal is coming soon in digital, audio, and special edition. Click the image below to visit the Kickstarter page, then hit notify me on launch to be among the first to unlock the magic. So I made it really clear what they need to do and where they're going to be going. Down here, Facebook is trying to automatically turn on their AI features. In this case, they want to rewrite my copy. Because they've automatically applied this despite my account settings telling them not to do that, I probably have to re-enter learning to turn that off. So that's why you have to check ads frequently, unfortunately. Because this one is
I was just gonna say, I really like them trying to rewrite my ad copy for me, because that provides, because you can then edit it. And it provides a good starting place for me to write some alternate ad copy, or just like take their suggestion, rewrite it and make it the primary and turn off the suggestions.
Yeah. I use, in this case, Gemini and an innate inflow, which is getting like really way far advanced to give me my copy for this book. But I have an AI I've trained to read the whole book and then produce the copy rather than just work off of the book description. So here are the previews. You can see it in all the various formats and placements, how they look different. And I have a 4x5, so the slightly taller one. My stats say I have anxiety. The talking cheese agrees. So ideally, I would have Kickstarter on here, or I would have my author logo in the corner. This is the type of ad I mentioned, kind of mimics what trads publishers are doing right now. But I have my branding colors and everything, and you can see on Kickstarter now. And since this is a shorter headline, it is bringing in the first line of that SEO box description. So I make sure that I do not have any comp titles in the first line. So usually I would not have any until the first paragraph, but this is a slightly older line. Older ad, but you can see her magic is quiet, her cheese is loud, legends and lattes, beware of chicken, wizard's guide to defensive baking. It's got all these comps baked in. I don't think this one has video games in it, which it needs to, because it's on the RPG. But yeah, it just keeps going on. Now we got Howl's Moving Castle. I did, right before this call, I did a new version with my current best practices with ChatGPT for a new description box for this book to show you guys. So now I have, what if your quiet cheese shop became the starting point for a quest you never asked for? I've got the information for the book and series. I've got a ton of stuff about ebooks, Kindle, lit RPG, bingeable series, cozy fantasy, women's fiction, magical. So we've got a lot of genre indicators up here. And then we start getting into my comps. Here we're bringing in Practical Magic, Hocus Pocus, Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing, Dungeons and Dragons, Great British Bake Off, Our Flag Means Death, and The Good Place. So I could probably find even more comps. Like I'm like, hey, but what about, Dragon Age Veilguard? And I can play with it all day long. But usually I get it good enough to test. And then we're leaning into the themes and the representation. This book has an autistic heroine. And then we end with some more genre indicators. And this is my giant SEO block that I will be using in future ads for the cheese book. So there's that. And here's the Learn More button. Here's all the Advantage Plus creatives we talked about. Ad overlays is the one I like. And little known fact, divine clerical error ahead. So it's acting like it will add it, but it will not because of the size of the ad. But you can edit this. Apparently I can't from this screen, but you can edit it and you can choose your font, color, all of that stuff and be very specific, or you can let it automatically do it. Add music is one I hate. Text improvements, clearly off, still applied, not happy. Got add animation, which I'm ambivalent to. Flex, enhance CTA I like. And then there's even more down here. So yeah, you have to know where to click on their little thingies to see what all they have going on. So that is a full scale lead ad. I'll show you a traffic ad real quick. Questions still welcome. I'm hoping you're all just so riveted that you just can't think outside of my siren voice right now. Let's look at this
Hey,
one.
Melissa.
Yep.
I started the meeting a little late, so this is all on Facebook, correct?
Yes,
Or-
Facebook ads.
Facebook ads? Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I'm just a beginning. I just published 2 books, so I'm just I'm a newbie at this, but I'm trying to keep up.
I do start easier and then get advanced pretty fast. This is my basic Facebook ads talk, but so much has changed that it probably feels a little bit higher than a basic level talk. But I've provided the slides, which will be available with the replay. So just go through it in bite-sized chunks.
Okay,
And
thank
one thing I did say is now is a great time to learn Facebook ads because a lot of authors are stuck in trying to go back to the way they were when what they need to do is learn the new way. So being in a place where you're learning for the first time, you have nothing bad to unlearn right now. So that's good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to find a way to get my books promoted. So
Yeah. Yep, I talk about that more in the beginning. So I hope you're able to catch the replay. These are traffic ads that are using attribution links for my trilogy. And you can see that I'm almost exclusively hitting my warm audience, which is people I'm retargeting because they've clicked on other ads. So this is all part of the funnel I mentioned where I attract them with different offers and I move them up and up and up and up. So they become more involved with my brand. But I do have Dungeons and Dragons and ebooks, a perennial favorite, one Justin could potentially try, depending if your RPG leans fantasy like mine does. Fantasy books, another perennial favorite. If we go inside, we can see the different cost per clicks. I intentionally left one learning limited on in case that came up. So when I see this, gone. And I might turn it back on later after it's had some rest. Maybe in a few weeks, I'll try again. But for now, it's not going to work. It's gone. And I have different images. So this one is the trad style I mentioned. So again, now I would add my logo, but this one has the 3D book, that it's a complete trilogy in Kindle Unlimited. And then I have a colorized version of the fantasy map for this book as the background. And we have, so see, it's trying to add, this is the really bad one. It's trying to like make me add, but I know better. Let's get one thing straight. I'm retired, or I was, and it's in the voice of the character. Emoji, the complete trilogy is available now, ready to binge from beginning to end. If you have a complete series, that is a huge selling point. So make sure that is mentioned in your headline and your call to action all over the place. Free with Kindle Unlimited. So just click the image below and start your next quest. Because I don't have the link there since I'm using an attribution link on the ad. And here are 2 headlines. Kindle Unlimited Fantasy Binge. My past came knocking, it had a battle axe. And here we have similar comps because it's still the same brand. So it's still T. Kingfisher, TJ Klune, Travis Poultry are my biggies. And Patrick Rothfuss is a stretch for sure. So I'll probably revisit that since I've upped my skills in this area. One of the ads that's done a lot for me is this one. There's another style. So my assistant designed this. We've got a review quote. We've seen the full trilogy, and I like having the 3D effect with the white, so it looks like the books are kind of popping out. It just grabs the eye a little better. And this one's in third person instead of my character's voice. But similar. Only one headline. So you can see like different ages of ads as I've updated my best practices. And I mentioned I have my Patreon, which I run cheap clicks to, but it's still very curated. So I have heavy emotional themes, neurodivergence, mental health. So having my Patreon fantasy self-help post has been really great for growing my audience. I have an audience that is fantasy books and self-help specifically, which I wouldn't serve just my trilogy to. You can also see that I'm cutting out older readers because I know that my audience skews young for the fantasy books. So there's that. And inside, I have my Patreon is called the Secret Scrolls Society. So I design an image with the scroll, and I have them for the different posts, and I have the title. And then I have the entire content of the post here. So they don't have to click to keep reading the post. So if they get to the end of this and it lets them know that there's more and they can follow for free or paid on my Patreon, this is a very qualified click. So even though it's only 11 cents a click, they have to be very interested to click. And that makes a great audience to get to sign up for my newsletter and then buy my book. So that's kind of how my whole infrastructure works. More questions or things you guys would like to see? I think not.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it was a very productive conversation so far. Personally, I learned a lot. Like, I'm not an author, but I did learn a lot about Facebook ads and everything. Yeah. So I want to get some feedback from Justin and Glynis about this whole presentation because this is for you, and I want to see what did you think about this whole thing. So let's start with Glynis first. What do you think so far?
Of the whole presentation?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was very useful. I'm looking forward to getting the slide, and then when
Mhm.
my first ad, I'm gonna be referring back to it so I can try to follow it step by step to get my ad done.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Justin, what about you?
I thought it was really useful. It is a lot. Like even having done some Facebook ads for a while and stuff, it was almost overwhelming. So I am looking forward to going back through and taking it in the smaller chunks. But I think it's really useful to have this big presentation, but almost more useful will be then taking this context and going back and just doing piece at a time and figuring it out on my own screens as I look at everything Melissa shared and said. But I'm super happy. It's been well worth the time.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I will be sending you all of these slides and the recording as soon as we have that. And yeah, so for Melissa, take it away. Like, I will send all of the information regarding Melissa's work and what she's been doing, so you can connect with her if you want. And also, Melissa, this is like your last moments. If you want to say anything else, take it away.
Yeah, if you want to really paste deep dive, my upcoming Kickstarter on running Facebook ads to Kickstarter, that's launching hopefully next month. But that will be a book with step-by-step workflows of where to click, where to go, here's the link, here's what to do, with supplemental videos. Check it out. My business is Novel Publicity. We can do consulting calls or ads audits and help you. I think it really helps a lot of authors to learn on their own books and data. The way I structured the presentation, it was so that we would get the overview, get into the questions, and then on replay, having all of the information written in slides in one place, I think it will be easier to recall. I know it's a lot, especially because I'm demanding so many changes of everybody. But I appreciate you being here. And I also have that Facebook group. If you search Melissa Storm Facebook ads on Facebook, or you can go to novelpublicity.com/join. Every Monday, I post an industry update with everything that's happening and recommended advice. I post tutorials and lessons all the time. It is a free group. It will never be paid. I will never sell you anything there. It is a sacred space, and you are welcome to enter the temple. Thank you for hosting, by the way.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, so Melissa, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for giving us your knowledge, and for people who came here as a guest, I appreciate it. And people who will be joining us on our YouTube channel, please take a listen to it properly, and we will be sending all of these slides and everything to our YouTube audience as well, so you can review it and then you can move forward. Yeah, and yeah, thank you so much, everyone. We will see you later. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.